Has no changes.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the March 27, 2023 executive session and regular board meeting as presented?
I so move.
A second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed vote nay. That motion also carries unanimously. Well, Dr. Thacker, tonight's an exciting night, so let's just dive right into it.
Okay, well, thank you, President Riley and Board of Trustees. Welcome, everyone. You know, this is interesting because I am the only superintendent in the state of Indiana who can say these things tonight because we have some unbelievably special people here. You know, we're so proud to welcome and recognize two Penn Kings from basketball legends tonight. The first will be Hall of Famer Coach Al Rhodes and Mr. Basketball Marcus Burton. Let's start with Larry. You know, I believe that we have with us the greatest basketball coach in the history of Indiana high school basketball, and Coach Rhodes. You know, for those who don't know, he won a state championship, but he's had 7 Final Fours, and that would include he's coached parts of 5 decades. Every decade he's had a Final Four. And so we think of the past 42 years in which Coach Rhodes has been coaching in this area, there have been 3 players who are honored with the title of Mr. Basketball. They were all coached and developed by Coach Rhodes.
Right.
So, and then Marcus Burton just named Mr. Basketball the first in the history of Penn High School. And we've had great players here, but here's our greatest player ever. And so this, one of the things that's interesting is that from here on, every player for Penn's basketball team in the next 100 years will know who Marcus Burton is. You are the Babe Ruth of basketball.
I'll be trying to catch.
And so I'm going to highlight a couple of things to put this into context. You know, last week it's been so exciting. The whole basketball season was fun. And I'll tell you, if you're want to watch a legend coach, the guy who knows exactly what to do and when to do it at all times is Coach Rhodes. And if you want to watch the player who is showtime all the time and making his teammates better, it's Marcus Burton. So I mentioned announcing his retirement after 42 years of coaching, and that's fortunately 15 of those years have been at Penn High School. He's a Penn grad, and he has crafted a golden legacy in Indiana high school basketball coaching. He's 693 victories and 329 defeats in 42 seasons. One of the highest winning percentages ever, and he's ranked among the winningest coaches in the history of Indiana basketball. In the past 2 seasons, Coach Rhodes has guided Penn to a remarkable record of 52 victories and 5 losses. This past season, Penn posted a 28-2 record and reached the Final Four for the 4th time in the program's 65-year history. And by the way, those 2 losses were the state champion and the runner-up. So not bad. Really, really proud of you guys. So Penn was invited to compete in the prestigious Hall of Fame Classic this season. It was so much fun on December 30th to watch that game. And then that didn't happen by chance, right? Everything rises and falls on leadership. John Maxwell says we have the greatest basketball leader that we could possibly have. But then we had an unbelievably motivated, hardworking, developing superstar in Marcus Burton. And so as a point guard and a Notre Dame signee, he had a lot to do with the stats for our program. He racked up a total of 909 points this season, became Penn's all-time leading scorer, breaking the previous record. He ended his high school career with 2,273 points and became the St. Joe County's all-time high school boys leading scorer. And he's ranked among the top 20 in the history of basketball in the state of Indiana. So these are just some of the things that are leading us to say we have the best player and the best coach. So congratulations. We're so proud of you. And one more round of applause. We'll turn it over to Jeff Clark.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Thacker, President Riley, and the Board of School Trustees. I'm truly honored actually to introduce these 2 young men with me tonight. Legendary Coach Al Rhodes and just named Mr. Basketball of Indiana, Marcus Burton. I also want to welcome Mrs. Rhodes and Marcus's parents. Appreciate everything you guys have done, your unconditional love and support along this journey that they've both traveled so far. I've heard it mentioned by Dr. Thacker, certainly, and others, and I firmly believe it, that successful athletic and extracurricular programs can improve a school's reputation and hopefully its character. What we saw this winter was a boys basketball team that certainly lifted a school's spirit, but also an entire school community's mood. For that, we have Coach Rhodes, Marcus Burton, and an entire group of kids and coaches that put team before self. They accepted their role in their program, whatever that may be. And then what came out of that was an unforgettable season. Sold out home games, large away crowds in which kids lined up to get a glimpse of the team and hopefully an autograph or a picture with Marcus. And finally, certainly a magical run to the state's Final Four. So tonight, we say thanks to Coach Rhodes on his 42-year Hall of Fame career, full of mentoring young people, both in basketball and in the classroom. And I'm thankful for his leadership, but also his friendship in my short time here as a coach and athletic director. To Marcus, it's been amazing to watch you grow from the 8th grader that I was introduced to at a home game more than 4 years ago to becoming one of the best high school players our state's ever seen. And I can't wait, like everyone else here, to see what comes next for you and your family. I'd like to ask Coach Rose to say a few words before he introduces Marcus. Thank you.
I get nervous when I'm talking in front of people, so I always have to take a second and think. And it's nice when Dr. Thacker and Mr. Hart go through all the things that have happened throughout my career. But the thing that I would like to emphasize is the fact that I'm very proud to be a graduate of Penn High School. I graduated in 1970. And when I had the opportunity to come back here, it was very, very special to me because of that. Penn High School and our school corporation did an awful lot for me. My high school coach was Jim Miller, one of the greatest coaches ever. And I wouldn't have the life that I have with my wonderful wife, Kathy, and our kids if it wasn't for what basketball and being part of a team taught me. And when we talk about the triangle of success, Marcus's parents have done a great job with him. His father and I talked a lot going into his 9th grade year about what was going to happen for Marcus, and pretty much, with the exception of 1 point short to Kokomo and not earning the chance to play Ben Davis again, everything happened. And it's because of them working with him and me working with them. And that's the real value of high school athletics. There's a big movement to move athletics out of schools with all of the AAU and the different things that are going. And I guess I would share with the board, I think that would be a huge mistake, because sports in a high school setting, there's nothing better than that for helping young men and young ladies grow up, type thing. When I think about Marcus, I think about an 8th grader, and he's at camp, and I know that he's got tremendous potential. You never know what's going to happen as you move forward. But as I got to know him as a 9th grader, I could tell that great things were ahead. He earned a starting position as a 9th grader. Not very many people do that. Joe Smith as well did that about a third of the way into the season. So the senior leadership we had was 4-year leadership from those two guys. And each year, Marcus became a better player. But I would also share with you, each year, Marcus became a better student. He's always been a great person, but it's tied together. As he became a better and better student, he became a better basketball player, and now headed to the University of Notre Dame with a great future ahead. I personally believe that, and it's impossible unless you do believe it, but I think we might watch him in the NBA someday. I really believe he has that kind of potential. Now, there's no guarantee of that, but I believe it can happen. And that's where all great things happen is, first of all, with a belief that they're going to happen. Marcus, come on up here.
Thanks for having me here. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Thacker for having me. I'd like to thank my parents, Marcus Sr., Michelle Taylor. And I'd just like to thank Penn High School because they did so much for me the past 4 years I've been here. And it's just been super fun. Coach Rose done a lot for me, and I just couldn't ask for any more. And I appreciate for everything, and thank you.
So we're trying to get our holiday cards pretty early. What was that you guys?
This will work.
All right. Okay.
Right here. 1, 2, 3. All right, couple more. All right, looks good.
Let's have the gentleman
With their families?
introduce this young woman over here. You know about that triangle? It's for their support as well. We think about, because we couldn't have a better triangle here, right? Marcus, Rose, Sarah. I mean, that leads to the basketball. That's pretty terrific. Let you introduce.
Oh, my wife Kathleen?
What's that? She flashed over 1,000 basketball games. All victories. Introducing yourself.
This is my mom, Michelle Taylor. This is my
Coach, up here.
Do you want a picture with Coach Rhodes?
Sure, look here. If anybody deserves it. Let's get all of us up here.
See if I can get everybody. Okay, everybody ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you. Proud of all of you.
Thank you, thank you.
Marcus, with all the medals and ribbons and everything that you're gonna earn, I know this is small, comparatively speaking, but this is something for you to remember. It's fine. Don't go away just yet, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coach, congratulations.
Just remember that's fine. Thank you for being here. We're gonna say just a few more words, and Coach, so if you want to stick around for just a minute. Okay. And you deserve 8,000 of these, but thank you for everything.
Hey, Chris, can we vote on Coach Rhodes leaving? Is that?
We haven't voted yet. It's not about until you have
Reject, will you reject your resignation?
7 days.
Coach Rhodes, we're gonna reject your resignation.
Mr. President, you usually say something about they're welcome to stay.
Well, I asked you to stick around because I think the school board wants to say a few words to you, Marcus, and to you, Coach, to express our gratitude. And then we'll get on with the business portion of our evening. You know, Marcus, it's not very common that we have students outside of our illustrious student ambassador who come to speak to the school board. It's very unusual that a student would do it twice in a school year, and it's unprecedented that one would come as a leader of an academic academy, as you did about a month or so ago, and then come back as Mr. Indiana Basketball. It says so much about the person you are, a great student, a great guy, a great athlete. There is just no limit to what you're going to accomplish in life. And we are all so proud of you, not just for all of your athletic accomplishments, which are impressive, but just for the guy that you are. And so let's all just give him one more round of applause on behalf of the school. Coach, it's hard for any of us to put in words. A whole community thanks you. You know, it's amazing the impact that a guy like you has had on how many students have you coached, and then the multiplier effect of what they've done in our community, and then what they've done in our community. And it's all started with you. You talked about Maxwell and everything rising with leadership. You have been just a stalwart leader at PHM. You have helped produce great kids like Marcus, and we are so forever grateful for your efforts here at Penn High School, and your retirement will be denied by the board. Can we give Coach one more round of applause and gratitude on behalf
I just specifically on Coach Rhodes, as a former player of yours, I know I shared some thoughts with you last week, but just to be brief, your accomplishments over the years speak for themselves. And just as a former player, I just wanted to say thank you for the impact you had on me. And I know so many other players would echo the same thing. As a human being, what you taught us, the life lessons, what you were teaching us wasn't just about being a basketball player. It's about being a father. It's about being a teacher, whether it was doctor, lawyer, etc. And I can't thank you enough for that. I wanted to make sure I shared that with you tonight. It's meant incredibly good amount to me personally, and I know there's several other former players of yours that would say the same thing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, while we welcome all of you to stay for the business portion of our meeting, we recognize that you might have other things to do, such as having dinner or getting back to studying. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank
Look forward to seeing you again. And Marcus, go Irish. Okay, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is superintendent's recognitions and announcements. Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, President Riley and Board of Trustees. At this time, I'd like to introduce and welcome our amazing student board ambassador from high school, Jarvan Eshimak.
Good evening, Dr. Thacker, President Riley, and members of the board. I'm finally back to share some academic, athletic, and fine arts highlights with you tonight. Beginning with academic news, Penn DECA had 37 students qualify for the DECA International Competition by placing first, second, or third in their respective events at the state level competition. Many of these competitors are now in Orlando for internationals this week, and we congratulate them for their achievements and wish them luck. Penn robotics teams traveled to Lafayette to compete at the Tippecanoe district event, where Penn Team 328 took home the win, and Team 136 was eliminated in the semifinals, but given the Impact Award, which is granted to a model team who emulates sportsmanship. Lastly, Penn sophomore Chris Chen was named the overall best delegate of the United Nations Development Program Committee at the University of Illinois Model UN Conference. So congratulations to Chris for this achievement. In athletic news, as mentioned, senior basketball player Marcus Burton was named Indiana Mr. Basketball, the first ever awarded to a Penn student and first in St. Joseph County since 1978. Over his career, he averaged 30.2 points, 5.5 rebounds, 5.6 assists, and 3.3 steals. A big congratulations to Marcus for this amazing award, and go Penn. Penn girls lacrosse also recently defeated Madawan, and Penn boys basketball defeated previously unbeaten Mishawaka 13-4. Finally, in fine arts achievements, Penn Orchestra, Choir, and Band competed in ISMA district competitions where 4 orchestras earned a gold rating and 3 earned a gold with distinction. 4 of Penn bands earned a gold and 3 were awarded gold with distinction. All 3 choirs earned a gold rating. Great job to the music department for their hard work and accomplishments. Thank you, and that's all I have for you tonight.
Thank you very much, Kiara. Let's give Kiara a hand. Well, Kiara, thank you for another outstanding report and for all you've done to gather up that information. Do tell Chris Chen we said congratulations, will you? And we, if I'm not mistaken, we get one more chance to see you?
Yes.
All right, great. Well, it's great to see you again, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Dr. Thacker. Maybe I got ahead of myself. Let's move on to a presentation, Dr. Thacker, with the Indiana STEM Certified School recognition for Elm Road.
Thank you, President Riley and Board of Trustees. We're really excited about this. Elm Road's been an official Indiana STEM certified school since 2020. And this edition of What's New in Technology, Elm Road teachers explain how different technologies are used to integrate STEM standards and concepts into curriculum areas. So teachers use iPads, coding, and robotics to engage students and enrich lessons. So let's take a look.
I am happy to say that years ago, Dr. Soto Kyle presented the staff with an opportunity to become STEM certified.
There are only a handful of elementary schools in the state of Indiana that are STEM certified. The certification involves not only showing that you're teaching STEM standards in school, but you're also integrating STEM in other areas of curriculum.
We were looking to integrate these wonderful bolts that we have into our math lesson.
We were taking these sphero bolts and we were integrating them with like geometry and polygons.
It's just a different way to do the same skill, but to integrate that technology versus doing a worksheet.
So our job in the technology department is to find technologies that teachers can use that are easy to use in the classroom, that engage students, that bring those concepts that they're trying to teach across.
In the K-1 classrooms, they do a lot of coding and it helps them with problem solving. It's also helping them with number grids and how to pattern. So that's where I've seen a lot of growth in their test scores, especially in math.
I like coding because it's good for your future.
I like coding because it's fun.
I love this because it combines my favorite things, math, STEM, science, engineering, and technology.
Teacher support is vital to the success of these types of projects. You can't just spend a lot of money and put technology in the classroom and expect it to work. You need to provide training, examples, support to make those teachers feel comfortable with these new tools and to integrate them in what they're already using day to day in the classroom.
I definitely want to put a shout out and thanks for the PHM technology for all of their support, because someone like me, sometimes change is very difficult.
And so for us to be provided with these wonderful tools is a great success story, both as a teacher here and also as a parent with a child in PHM. I'm thankful for those opportunities.
Well done. Well, thank you, Dr. Thacker, for focus on technology. Thank you also to Joe Fraterna and to Mr. Matt Hapke, all of our teachers over at Elm Road for all they're doing, and for our students who obviously are enjoying their immersion in STEM technology. So thank you all for that presentation. We'll move on now to the consent agenda.
Thank you, President Riley and Board of Trustees. The administration recommends approval of the 14 items appearing on the consent agenda. Appearing on the personnel report on our certified staff are 2 retirements: James Kamakewicz, teacher at Grissom Middle School, who retired at the end of this school year after 36 years of service, with 33 of those being at PHM. Al Rhodes, teacher at Penn High School, retired at the end of this school year after 48 years of service, with 15 of those years at PHM. Appearing on the personnel report on the classified staff are 4 retirements: Gary Jervis, custodian at Penn High School, retired effective March 28, 2023, after 26 years of service. Douglas Radican, bus operator, who retired effective March 30th, 2023, after 8 years of service. Leonor Archivist, educational assistant at Penn High School, who retired on June 1st, 2023, after 25 years of service. And Kimberly Coleman, educational assistant at Mary Frank, who retired on June 1st, 2023, after 21 years of service. On behalf of the board administration, we wish all of these outstanding personnel our very best in their retirements.
Board members, notwithstanding our regret to see all of these great employees go, do you have any questions for the administration? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the April 24, 2023 consent agenda as presented by Dr. Thacker?
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed vote nay. Motion carries unanimously. And obviously, the board has expressed its appreciation for Coach Rhodes, Mr. Kamakewicz, and Mr. Gervais, and Radican, and Archias, and Mrs. Kelman. Thank you so much on behalf of the board for everything that you too have done for our school corporation and for our community and for our kids. We appreciate you. You'll be missed. We wish you Godspeed in everything that you do. And we'll move on to our next agenda item, Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, President Riley and Board of Trustees. Included in the personnel report that was just approved is one administrative change. Recently, the Human Resource Department organized and conducted the screening interviews for the position of administrative assistant to the superintendent. We have so many talented people in the school system. Mrs. Carolyn Polonis was selected by the screening and interview committee as the top candidate. Carolyn received her Bachelor's of Business Administration in Accounting and Computer Information Systems from Western Michigan University. Prior to coming to PHM, Carolyn served as the accounting clerk, systems manager, and assistant vice president of the First of Michigan Corporation in Detroit, Michigan. She led the corporate-wide computer conversion and established and ran the first help desk. Carolyn has worked with Penn-Harris-Madison since 2007, serving as a lab coordinator, a Kinder Club assistant, and in various other leadership roles. She has an extensive background in accounting and technology, has been a great resource to PHM. She has served as the lead data analyst of iStep, iLearn, iRead3Scores, and other data. She is currently the administrative assistant to the assistant superintendent of the learning division and served in this administrative role for nearly 11 years. She will do a great job. So if you see Carolyn Polonis, please congratulate her and welcome her to her new role.
Absolutely. Carolyn, wherever you are, we do welcome you to the team and look forward to working with you. And we'll move on to the instruction report item for this evening.
Thank you, President Riley, Board of Trustees. We're going to look at a focus on Penn High School academies, the early college. And so here to share tonight's presentation is Penn High School Associate Principal, Mrs. Rachel Fry, Early College Academy Leader, Danielle Black, and some Early College Academy students. So Dr. Short will also highlight this item for us.
Thank you, Dr. Thacker, President Riley, members of the board. It's exciting to have a group here to speak with us tonight. As Dr. Thacker said, both Mrs. Fry and Mrs. Black, who have done a ton in terms of leadership with early college, as well as 3 students who are going to share with us some thoughts and perhaps some memories as they come up. So welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. And I'm excited to be here. Dr. Thacker, President Riley, members of the board, I had the opportunity to speak with you just a month or 2 ago and was able to share a lot of the updates in early college related to this school year, including the grant that we are currently in year 1, wrapping up and preparing for year 2, as well as the 3 schools that we are mentoring toward becoming certified endorsed programs through CEL. And also just our increase in students earning their credentials, whether that be the Indiana College Core or their associate's degree. We're continuing to trend in a positive direction and excited to welcome our 10th cohort next year. But before we do that, tonight I am going to be quiet and turn it over to some of our students. So the 3 that are here this evening have unique perspectives. They span 6 of our current 9 cohorts who have stepped into Penn High School's Early College Academy. And so the first one you'll hear from this evening is a 9th grade student, and I'm going to welcome Tim to come up and talk to you about her experiences so far this year.
Okay, hello. So my name is Temonati Miranda. And so one thing I like about early college are like the field trips that we go on sometimes. And one of the field trips that I like specifically remember is when we went to the Indiana Dunes. Like it was a really like fun experience being able to like talk to your other classmates and build a community with them and your teachers. And we also went like hiking, which was really great for me because I haven't been hiking in a while. So it was like great to experience that. And a very vivid memory that I had that day was I lost my bracelet in the water. So I had to go get it, but I got wet in the process. One of my future goals is to become a neurosurgeon. And the way early college is preparing me is like providing resources to help me learn more about like biology and anatomy. And like I'm currently taking a biomedical course and obviously my biology course so that my concepts I'm learning are like reinforced. And so when I get into medical school, I know like a lot of things. And one way early college is helping me with that is that like with me being able to get my associate's degree, it will like increase, I think it will like increase my chances of getting into like a good college, and a good college can help me become like a neurosurgeon and get me into the field that I want. And that's about it.
Thank you, Tim.
Hi, first of all, I would like to say thank you for the privilege and opportunity to speak to you guys all today. My name is Gilberto Sanchez. I'm currently a junior in the early college program. Unlike some of my peers over here, I've had a unique experience as I transferred into the Penn Early College program. At the beginning of my sophomore year, I was informed that I would be not only moving houses, but also districts as well. When I found out I would have to transfer to a school nearly 2 times the size of my previous, I felt a little scary to say the least. Knowing that I have to make new connections, friends, and get to know teachers better, it felt kind of strange. And well, it was a new experience to say the least. So when I first met with Miss Eck, and she told me that I would still be able to continue early college at Penn, I felt very happy. You see, early college is unlike any other academy here at Penn. We have the opportunity to have teachers for multiple years, have the same student body for multiple years, which really allows us to build on our friendships and connections we have as a student body. This really lowered the stress levels I had on me, as I wouldn't have to be more social or, have the stress of making friends. As early college, you mostly have the same students in nearly every class. Having the same group of teachers allowed me to be more open with them. I felt like I was able to participate in class more, answer more questions, and ask for help when I truly needed it. One of my favorite parts of early college as well is the field trips we have. This past year, we were able to visit 3 universities, the University of Indiana at Bloomington, the University of Notre Dame, and Purdue at West Lafayette. Being able to travel to these universities and institutions, I feel like helped me build my foundation for what my future will look like and will probably be. This level of support is unmatched by any other school in the area. These trips have helped me create new memories with friends, learn about life around college campuses, and most importantly, prepare for my future. In the future, I would like to pursue accounting at the Kelley School of Business at IU Bloomington. Touring campus and talking to students that were there really helped me get a feel what college life would actually be like. If anything, it helped build my desire to go there even more. As explained earlier, early college is amazing in many ways. Helping set a strong foundation for students and academic readiness is probably my favorite. By providing a similar curriculum to what a college course may be like, it really helps us get an idea of what college will be like. It allows for us to get our associate's degree while finishing high school, allowing for students to save an enormous amount of money, which is amazing. In conclusion, joining early college has helped me build a strong connection with my peers, teachers, and more importantly, prepare me academically. I feel like the ability to graduate with my associate's degree and my high school degree is a privilege every student should have. In the future, I know I'll be proud to call myself a Penn Early College graduate. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Gilberto.
Hello, Dr. Thacker, President Riley, and the Board of Trustees. Appreciate you spending the time to listen to this presentation. Unlike the 2 students before me, I have the unique perspective of being a graduate from Penn High School. I was part of the class of 2020, which, as you all know, was not the best year for school.
Why would you say that?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. But I am currently a senior at IUSB, and early college has, as you heard, is amazing for the wonderful support you receive from teachers, the lifelong friendships I have made. I still talk to all the guys you see in these pictures. But what I get to talk about is the amount of credits I earned from school, which you don't really think about as a high school student. Right after I graduated, I went to Indiana Wesleyan University for nursing. About 3 semesters in, I decided nursing's not for me. So I came back home, and as much as I tried to avoid it, with coming from a family of educators, I decided on education. So I, with the help of Dr. Dean Knoll, received a subbing job at Schmucker Middle School right across the street, and a coaching job, coaching track, hence the shorts and the sweatshirt, came straight from there. But I spent a semester teaching a reading strategies course, which is the lower kids who often have troubled home lives or just need a relationship-based environment. So it sparked my sparked my love of education right away. So I was able to go back to IUSB because it was the cheapest option for me. And not only was I
taking a semester off, I would still graduate a year ahead of all my classmates in the 2020 class. The easiest way for me to do it was to graduate with a general studies degree and a history minor because of all the credits that early college gave me. And I am actually able to start a year early teaching on an emergency license for PHM in a middle school and receive a full year salary as I am finishing a transition to teaching program. So early college will knock off a ridiculous amount of private school debt that I would have been bogged down by if I was not a graduate from this program. So now I get to introduce another member of the Black household, Daniel Black. Thank you.
Thank you, Braden.
Well, obviously, we have the most amazing students in the early college program. Although I must admit, especially on a night like tonight, I am extremely biased, and I think that's okay. So we thought that we would close today by showing you a list, not of what early college has done this year or what we will do in the spring semester, but what we will do in the next 6 weeks. And the reason that we wanted to show you this list is not just, first of all, we wanted to say you are welcome. We appreciate your support. We love what the school board does and the partnerships do. And so if any of these interest you or you want to know more, please ask questions and know that you are welcome to visit with us about them. We are proud of what we are able to accomplish. And as someone else already mentioned today, the reason we are able to accomplish what we do is because of the triangle of success. You heard from some of our amazing students, and there are so many more, but they are one group. We also have their incredible parents. Parents like the 4 moms and grandma that helped chaperone our early college blitz trip last week. That wouldn't have been possible without the parents, and all the other ways that they support us, like coming to Parent University and helping their kids be successful, and so many other things. Then we have the teachers who come up with these incredible ideas, and not only come up with the ideas, but help plan and carry them out to fruition, which is just incredible. We have 2 counselors that are only 2 years old, and they are significantly responsible or help play a part in the numbers that we can produce, the number of associate's degrees, the numbers of Indiana College Corps, all because, and they also take care of our students' mental health. Then you have our amazing administrators who help us dream and help us carry out those dreams, and all of you. And for all of those things, we are eternally grateful. So thank you very much to all of you. And at this time, that is the close of our presentation. So I'm sure myself or Rachel Fry or any of the students would be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you for having us here.
Thank you, Mrs. Black. It's another terrific presentation. Thank you all so much. Braden, how's it feel to be back?
Great. Loving it.
Not regretting your decision.
Not at all.
I love it. I love it. And you're teaching subbing over at Schmucker?
Yeah.
That's great. Well, we are so delighted to have you back. And Gilberto, where are you? You remember the promise that you made to me out in the hall?
Yeah.
You're going to come back and you're going to see us next year, huh?
Promise I will.
You did an outstanding job, Gilberto. Thank you so much for being here and spending your Monday night with us. I can see, watching you prepare for your presentation to the school board, I can see you being very meticulous at the Kelley School of Business and very successful in everything you do. So it's great to see you, man. Come on back and see us. And Tim, I have to ask you, neurosurgery is pretty specific. What got you interested in that?
Me and my mom were dropping my sister off at physical therapy, and while we were there's this car accident, and this girl hit her head, so she was on the ground, and there's a lot of blood, and I was like, oh, that really sucks, and I wanted to help her, but it's not I could really do anything about it. So I was like, okay, so since I like really wanted to do this, and my grandma, she also like died because of something in her brain. So I was like, okay, I want to be a neurosurgeon for that reason.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your grandmother. I'm delighted to hear that these life experiences have inspired in you this ambition to go out and help people. You're going to be a smashing success. And when you graduate from medical school, I'm going to need your business card. Thank you so much for being here with us, you guys. If you want to stick around for the rest of the meeting, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, now would be a good time to take off. But on the promise that we get to see you again, okay?
And Braden beat Discovery tomorrow night, would you?
Go Spartans, Braden, go Spartans.
Discovery right?
You know what, Dr. Thacker, this made me think to ask, we do lead the state. Penn High School leads the state in the issuance of dual credit.
Number one.
Is that right?
Number one in the state of Indiana.
So Mrs. Black left, but I'm sure Gallagher, our early college program, is a big part of that. Yeah. So I just think it reflects the community's investment in our schools, in our children, that turns around and pays back. So
Absolutely. Okay, we'll move on to the business operational services action items. Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, President Riley and Board of Trustees. Chief Operating Officer Dr. Aaron Linsky will share our first business action item this evening with a request for approval to award bids for some capital improvement projects. Dr. Linsky.
Thank you, Dr. Thacker. Good evening, President Riley, members of the board. There are two items that the administration requests your approval this evening. This includes interior and exterior improvements at our transportation center, as well as masonry improvements at Discovery Middle School. All that information was provided in your board packet, including a letter of recommendation and the bid or quote tabulations for each project. We're recommending awarding to the lowest, most responsive bidder, and certainly happy to answer any questions you have. We do anticipate, if approved, these improvements would be made this summer.
Board members, recognizing all this information has been previously provided to the board. Any questions for the administration? Hearing none, there are four motions that I will present related to the capital building improvement projects bid quotation awards. I will take one vote on the four motions. Do I have a motion to award the interior painting and flooring improvements at the PHM Transportation Center to Yoder Construction in the amount of $53,431? Award the replacement of two maintenance bay lifts to Sterile Coney USA in the amount of $557,729.20. Award the improvements to the bus parking area at the PHM Transportation Center to Reith Riley in the amount of $328,062, and award the PHM masonry repairs and improvements to Zylakowski Construction in the amount of $246,500.
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed vote nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Linsky. And we'll move on to our next action item, which is approval of Lions Head Field naming rights agreement. Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, President Riley and Board of Trustees. Okay, this item is being brought before the board. It was brought before the board in March on the 27th. So in accordance with the policy 9700.01 sponsorships, the administration presents for a second reading the PHM Education Foundation's naming rights campaign request for the synthetic turf soccer and lacrosse field to the board for approval. The PHM Education Foundation requests that the board approve the naming rights campaign for the new synthetic turf soccer and lacrosse field to add the logo for Lions Head Specialty Tire and Wheel to the field. The naming rights will be effective July 2023 and will last for the life of the field, or 12 years, whichever comes first.
Board members, any questions or comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the Lions Head Field naming rights agreement with Penn-Harris-Madison Education Foundation for sponsorship of the new synthetic turf soccer and lacrosse field as presented?
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed vote nay. Motion also carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Thacker. Thank you, Ms. Turnblom. Thank you most especially to Lions Head Specialty Tire and Wheel and all of our sponsors here at PHM who donate so generously and help us to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish, not only for our students, but for our student athletes as well. So thank you all so much. And we'll move on to our next one, which is Business Operational Services Reports on Safety. Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, President Riley and Board of Trustees. Joining us this evening to present an update on safety and security measures at Penn-Harris-Madison School Corporation is Mr. Tommy Teeter. He's our Director of Safety and Student Services. And introducing this item is Chief Operating Officer, Dr. Aaron Linsky.
Thank you, Dr. Thacker. Good evening once again, President Riley, members of the board. Mr. Tommy Teeter is here to provide an update on school safety. It is certainly our top priority. As you recall, in light of recent events in the country, we send information home to families so that they truly understand all of the steps that we take to keep their children safe, as well as our staff members. So at this time, we'll turn over to Tommy to present some information.
Thank you, Dr. Linsky. Dr. Thacker, President Riley, members of the board. Nice to see you all again. Thanks for having me. So I'm going to go through this rather quickly because it's the end. So I don't want to keep you late. So I'll go through this pretty quickly. It's just an update of things that I talked to you about earlier in the year. So just so you have an idea of what we've been doing. The district safety team involves me, Antoine Jones, who couldn't make it today because he's sick, all of my security people. Right on cue. So our two SROs, and then you obviously know Mr. Wilkie, he's been here. Mr. Repper's not here tonight, but we have our other pretty reliable Greg Howard from South Bend Police Department. These guys are here all the time. They're great people. We are fully staffed. We have 6 officers, 7 total. We have 6 that kind of rotate through all of other schools. And then all of our schools, we have all of ESS, which supplies kind of our off-duty people. They pay our off-duty police officers. I pick them and kind of determine who's here, who comes, when they're working, things like that. But they pay them. And then all of our hall monitors as well. We have one outside guy that drives around. He's all from VSS. So all those guys are there, but we are fully staffed when it comes to them. So all of our middle schools and our high school are all supplied with that. And then our evening security is the other one I want to make sure I talk to you about because we just added another one with the scheduling conflict. They're all firemen and, you know, they work 24-hour shifts, sometimes 72-hour shifts, just depending. So we just hired up another one of them as well. They're either, we have Penn Township chief, some kind of chief, I can't remember, operations chief, I think it is, some battalion chiefs, and then a bunch of paramedics. And that's who's here patrolling this campus at night from 3 to 10. So, and then our use of safety consultants, we are still looking. We still have Gibson Insurance and Mike Sager, and we're looking at another assessment. This has been since 2019. So we're looking at getting another one of those and figuring out like right now who to possibly use for that. Our safety drills are done. We just had a fire drill this morning in high school. So one tornado drill, one man-made occurrence drill, which is the one that is an active shooter lockdown drill of some type for that. Fire drill done every month per code, and then earthquake drills one per semester or one per year, which we did in October with the annual shakeout. It's a countrywide day for that. And then we have a bus evacuation drill per semester as well. The Perry weather system, I want to make sure with tornado season and storm season and everything coming up right now, I want to again make sure that everybody knew we have these. All of the coaches, the athletes, our athletics department, along with principals in the area, all have this Perry weather. The 3 rings you can kind of see there kind of determine like what level is happening. And if you have not been on campus, when that goes off for a detector, like it's, you know, it's going off. It's very loud. I finally heard it for the first time myself a couple of days ago. So very loud. I was surprised at how loud it actually is. And then it sends alerts to your phone, and not only for bad weather, but also in the summer for heat and the humidity level, and the kids should be outside or not outside, take breaks, things like that. So have that. And this is a big one right here that's pretty important to me. District and school-based threat assessment teams. Being a crisis intervention trainer and was on that team with the SWAT team as far as negotiator, this is a pretty important aspect. We'd have meetings every month on this as well. Dr. Sears and I just went to some training just to kind of evaluate what we do. I think she's sitting here somewhere. So
We just went to some training down in Lafayette with a lady that came in that the Department of Education put on and found that we are spot on with what we're doing here to follow along with everything. She told people what they needed to do to get started. We're already doing it. And it is something that's done. It could be daily, could be weekly, could be monthly. We have every school has their own safety team as well. They have a threat assessment team on top of that to deal with things that we hear. Again, see something, say something. This is where it comes in. Is just that. It just depends. We just had a meeting last week on this, and then this is what we're looking at for our threat assessments when we hear something or something comes in through the Safe School Helpline. I can't remember if I have a slide for that or not, but so that's kind of that. So that is working, and it's really, I mean, it's a great tool. I really like where we're going with that as well. This I just kind of cut from our website. I'm not going to sit here and read it for you, but all of these ones that you see with this plain white slide, it's part of our 3-layer approach that we have, and it's on our website for parents. This is when I get phone calls or emails, especially after Nashville, like, what are we doing? Like, this is where I'm recommending our parents to go, because there are some things that are secret that I'm not going to talk about, right? But these are here for you to go. This is under the parents tab on our website. You can go and read it. There's videos you can click and go and see. I mean, there's all kinds of things here for parents to go to. There's a few slides that go with this. Some of the important safety features in our schools, the big one at the doors, the safe visitor and the vendor background check. So everybody that works here, that you guys approve to work here, have to go through a vendor background check. So they're all checked criminally and sexually as well. And then everybody that comes into the school, when you present an ID, they're all checked. Some of this is repeat on here, so I'm not going to get like the AEDs. The big thing I wanted you to know about that is the Stop the Bleed kits. And also at the high school and the middle schools, they also have some Narcan in their boxes with the AEDs. In the high school, Nurse Sally has put them in every AED as well.
We have AEDs out on our athletics fields.
Yes.
Within easy.
So we have one. I'm not going to tell you like it's on the field with the trainer. How about that? Because they have one in the CAC center as well, but then they also have a backpack one. And those are also equipped with the Stop the Bleed kits and the Narcan. So I'll get to as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All of our teachers are CPR trained as well. They also get the AED training as part of that. And then I think the other one on here I wanted to kind of flip through real quickly because of what's new is that all their classroom doors lock. All their crisis plans, we have crisis plans in every school that they can get to as well. And then every classroom has a crisis flip book that has information in it they can quickly go to as well to look up things. Go bags in every classroom that they can just grab that has classroom roster. Those flip books should be in there. And then depending on what else they want to put in there, whether it's flashlights or whatever they want to think they need as a go bag is in there. So school safety audits are being done. They're being conducted like regularly by our school safety team. Our custodians, maintenance facilities people, Gibson Insurance, as I talked about, and then we have consultant audits as well. Mike Sager's been doing the security assessments for me as well, making sure that our doors work, our alarms work, our classrooms are full with the go bags, the maps are up at every door like they're supposed to be, like doing all of that, and then teaching me as well. So still in my first year, I still feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose, but I'm trying. So it's been great for me to go with that. And then Gibson Insurance for our risk assessment side of it. I did not really understand OSHA law very much, but he's helped me out a lot. And we're starting to actually kick that back up because it's no longer winter. So we'll be out doing those here pretty frequently as well. Areas of focus when it comes to that, especially on the risk assessment, is everything outside. Make sure there's trips and slips and falls and breakage and equipment safe, everything to go with like the Gibson side of it. And then, like I said, to do with the security side of it, that our practices are there, protocols are met, people know what they are, how things work, what panics buttons are. All of those kind of things like are there, and that they're working as they're planned to work. This is a big one for me as well, because I mentioned it already. Again, you can see by this slide, it came off of our website. This is the big see something, say something. 30 years of security work, whether you want to consider it police or what I'm doing now. I can't do anything. Nobody can do anything if nobody's talking, right? That is it's a huge thing to me. I get these phone calls when they call They called me today about one in the high school while school's in session, right? So this is the see something, say something, and I highly encourage everybody. What can I do? How can you say if I thought I heard something, anything? If you don't know who to call, you can use the see something, say school helpline, and you can text it, email it, call them, anything you want to do. This is a major thing for us, and it works. I get a lot between me and Dr. Linsky. We get a lot of these. So I'm glad to see it work. I think it's a great thing, and I couldn't encourage people more to use this. Some of the upgrades I've done. There were some problem areas I saw with cameras when I started, and working with our Honeywell techs here and our camera people, maintenance people, facilities people. These cameras have been either upgraded, installed, changed the camera angle to make it better. Like any of those kind of things that you can think of when it comes to an area where we don't feel is covered, we've done what we can do to make it so it's covered, the best that we could do, right? Here's some exterior cameras. I don't think it's going to show up very well because of the camera or the lights in here, but these were cameras, outside cameras at schools where they were old, either an analog type camera, or they were like a very pixelized, you really couldn't see, or it was a pan tilt zoom camera that wouldn't tilt, wouldn't zoom, wouldn't do whatever anymore. Like it just kind of died. So these are some of the upgrades now, and they're 180-degree cameras, so they have better coverage of what they had before, and it's digital. So the pixels, they can go out a little farther than what they could before. So not only the view angle, they see more off of one camera because it's 3 cameras in one. So having that wider view, but then having the capability to zoom in to see things they need to see has been a huge improvement at all of these schools here so far. And this is the direction that we're going in the future as well. Professional development and training. All of our staff have to go through this training. I know it's very small. I apologize for that. But you can see the very first column with the small X's is what everybody has to take immediately. Those are all new hires. These are things you have to take the minute you get hired here. All of these things get sent to you from this public school works, and you have to take it. And then after that, you can kind of see like the first 3 months, you get a couple classes, and then so forth throughout the year. So you're not overwhelmed, but there are some classes there that you have to take, whether it's security, whether it's AEDs, whether safety, security, risk assessments, things, all kinds of things are out there. We have a pretty good setup with that too, as far as the staff goes. Safe school specialist training. I just wanted to bring this up because you guys just sent myself and Antoine there to complete that school. So we are both certified now as well. We have a lot of school safety specialists in the district. We have some advanced school safety people that are going to that. I think they have a training in May to update their training. You got to get, I think it's 12 hours every 2 years to keep that. So they're going to be going to that. I got to see I Love You Guys Foundation there. That was a really good presentation by Mr. Michael Key or John Michael Keys. And then Safer Schools Together is something I still look at. You guys offered that for people last year for training. There's threat assessments and how to look at social media stuff, what to look for, how to look for the way kids talk, things like that. We had some upper admin go through that, and that was a really good training. And then some of the stuff that I've brought in here since I started was Dr. Jeff Burnett came in the summer to talk to all of our admin principals and other people that have to do with the threat assessment. And he came in and talked. He's an expert, Dr. Sears? Expert on threat assessment training and the Virginia model that we're based off of. And then the other person that came, he kind of helped go over some of that for a couple hours in the summer with all of our staff as well. And then the CPR and AED training, because it's so popular, every teacher in the district has to go through that. We've added, that's almost monthly now because it's full right now. So we're doing that training as well. And then I'm bringing the Department of Education here tomorrow. Mr. Ryan Stewart and I are going to have a talk about what to bring in the future so we can get people to come here instead of LaPorte, Fort Wayne, those places. So I'm going to have that conversation tomorrow. Drug prevention and education is still an ongoing thing. We still work with the St. Joe County Health Department for numerous things. Tobacco prevention education is one. Vaping is another one that's coming. We're still doing DARE. The top one there is vape sense that we're using, fly sense in our bathrooms. And then some other drug testing. We are doing monthly drug testing as well, whether it be random, weekly random tests for you got pulled, it's your name, you got to go, right? So all of that is still happening as well. I got to talk about Mr. Wilkie again, just because I'm very proud of him. The DARE program is something obviously I was very passionate about. I was a state trainer up until this year. Officer Wilkie went to Illinois, completed his DARE training, so he is now certified to teach DARE and has been teaching DARE. And I know that's not an easy class, so I thank him for going to that and putting in the effort, because it was probably the most mental training I had out of the whole department on my time there. It's very stressful. So for him to go to it on top of it in a different state for 2 weeks and have to complete it, like, proud of him for that. So I want to make sure that's up there for him. But we're still, again, with the San Diego County Police Department, year number 26 this year. We'll be continuing in the year number 27 as well for DARE and everything to do with that. And then obviously it's building a relationship with kids, right? So it's a big deal for me. This one I want to make sure I got out here for everybody, because this has now been approved for over the counter, and I made sure I took the picture that you can find in the drugstore. If you happen to need it, this is naloxone or Narcan, commonly known as. And since it's now an over-the-counter thing, I wanted to make sure that people knew it was out there. Or if you really don't want to pay for it, just go to the St. Joseph County Jail. They have a vending machine in the lobby, and you can get it out of the vending machine. Or contact the St. Joseph County Health Department. They give it out for free as well, right? So if you have a person in your life, or you just want to be prepared to have this, this is out there. Again, I said all of our school nurses, I've made sure that every school has at least two. With some of the fentanyl products that are out and about, it scares me about our little ones. So I make sure that they're everywhere. And our athletic training staff, I just added to them as well to answer yes, we have it out in the CAC, we have it in the AEDs, it's in the backpack AED to go with her when she's out. So there's at least two there everywhere we go. And the secondary schools have it, the nurses as well, plus inside the AED machines around the school. And then these were all provided. Everything that I've given out was provided by the St. Joe County Health Department, and they did a training, bless you, they did a training earlier this year with our staff as well on kind of how to use it. It's just a nasal spray, right? And it won't hurt you. If you don't, even if I watched the lady that taught us stab herself in her thigh, oops, I used the wrong one. So it won't hurt you. If you don't need it, it just doesn't do anything for you. So that's it. Try to go quickly. You guys have any questions?
Well, thank you, Mr. Teeter. Thank you for your presentation tonight. Also, thank you for the detailed presentation you gave the board in executive session. We appreciate all the security information you've provided to us. Board members, any lingering questions?
Are we getting close to the point in the cycle where we would have an outside evaluator come in? Are we within a year or two of that?
For the assessment?
Uh-huh.
Yes, we are looking. It's been since 2019.
Okay.
So we are looking at it. Dr. Linsky and I are talking about it pretty regularly at this point, trying to figure out if it'll be the same person that came before or somebody different.
And I think, there's several of us up here that have our own children walk into these buildings every day. And I just know for the community, it's our treasure, our collective treasure that gets in and off these buses and walks in and out of our building. So on behalf of that community, I just want to thank you, and I almost called you Officer Teeter. It's hard to break that, Mr. Teeter.
I'll still answer to that.
Everybody, every hall monitor, every off-duty fireman and police officer, every teacher that takes this training seriously, and all the administrators that make sure that we take it seriously. Thank you. It's really important, and I can tell you, just every time you turn on the news, I count my blessings for being able to send my children to a district that takes security as seriously as PHM does. And I certainly pray that all of these things that you outlined, we will never have to use.
You as well.
But,
You as well.
Thank you.
And I have to thank you too, right? Like you guys have done prior to me here, right? Like all of these things, not all of them. I mean, obviously I'm upgrading stuff, but like where you're at prior to me coming. I mean, it's a testament of your own self, right? I've been in trainings where my friend's daughter goes to Michigan State, they don't even have locks on their doors still, right? I mean, like, I just can't imagine living in that kind of world. So I compliment you as well.
It is a different world indeed, and hopefully they get her locked soon. Okay, before we move on, we did have a member of the public who wanted to address the board on this specific agenda topic and has pre-registered to do so and has done so virtually. So at this point, Mrs. Hugenboom, I'll turn it over to you to bring in Mr. Ben Dallas.
He needs to request to get into the meeting, and he hasn't done that.
Okay, Mr. Dallas, if you're watching, now would be the time for you to send a request to Mrs. Hugenboom via Google so that you can be admitted into the meeting and address the board.
He hasn't requested.
Okay, Mr. Dallas, what we're going to do is we're going to move into the next section, which is the public comment section. And so if you're trying to log in, I'll just go ahead and I'll read the stuff that we need to read for the public comment section. Then I'm going to come back to you and call on you first. And hopefully by that time you will have found your way into the system. So we'll move on to the hearing of visitors. At regular meetings, the Penn-Harris-Madison Board of School Trustees, the public is invited to address the board on general topics under the hearing of visitors without registering. A time limit of 3 minutes shall be enforced for persons wishing to speak during the hearing of visitors. Board Attorney, Mr. John Rogers, will keep time and will let you know as your time is expiring. It is requested that names and addresses be stated at the beginning of such comments. Individuals may speak only once during this section of the agenda. Personnel issues are not to be addressed during open sessions of the board. Concerns about individual employees of the district should be brought to the superintendent or to his designee, and the board does not respond to questions or comments posed during the hearing of visitors. Do we have Mr. Dallas?
We have shared another invite to see if that would assist him. He was communicating via email, but he's trying to get in, but here we go. Here we go.
Okay, Mr. Dallas, can you hear us all right?
Yes, I can. You got me all right?
We do. The floor is yours.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Teeter for all the improvements he's made with school safety. He's made a lot of vast improvements, and as a parent in PHM, I appreciate him. So I think he's done an excellent job, and he's doing great. However, I do have some questions for the school leadership and the school board. So here we go. Last month, I heard from several high school students, and again, I can't validate this, but I heard from several high school students and parents that somehow some guy was able to sneak into Penn-Harris-Madison High School, and he was, I guess he was an imposter substitute teacher. And according to these students, who all have the same story, by the way, they said this guy was carried out by security once he started acting kind of erratically and saying crazy things and throwing things and whatnot. So a lot of students talked about it, and I didn't hear anything about it from the school. Okay, I think it's concerning if it's true. I don't know. I just know what students and parents had told me, and many of them don't even know each other, and they all have the same story. I also know that same week, Principal Gallagher did have an email that he sent out, again, validating his ID policy to sign in and sign out of the school. So he had an email around that same time that he put out to everybody. So it makes me think that something happened. I just don't know what. I'd hate to hear about this from students and parents and not the school itself. So that communication barrier either got broken or maybe it didn't happen. But I challenge you guys to at least validate that or confirm whether the story's true or not, because I don't know. It's something I heard and I think it's concerning. Also, I have a 13-year-old. He's in 7th grade. He attends Grissom Middle School. He's from the Philippines, has Asian descent. He doesn't feel very safe walking the hallways sometimes. Gets a lot of racial obscenities thrown his way. He has a bully. I'm afraid restorative justice is kind of taking a toll where this bully is allowed to pick on my son but not face any consequences. And and by the way, the facts of what I'm talking about have already been confirmed with the school leadership. So I'm not just taking my kid's word for it or anything like that. I've spoken with the school and I know what happened. We're on the same page. It seems like my kid is being held to a different standard. And and a lot of these liberal institutions like public schools, they treat Asian kids as Caucasian adjacent. It's like a new woke terminology, right? And he's being treated to a different standard. I wish we could just treat kids the same. Okay, treat kids regardless of their skin color or race. Let's just treat them by their actions and their character. Let's treat kids the same. Let's continue to take safety seriously, as Mr. Teeter's doing. I
Mr.
wish-
Dallas, that has been your 3
Mr.
minutes.
Dallas,
Thank you
Yep.
very much. Your 3 minutes have expired.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else wish to address the board? Mrs. Witt? This is here.
Hi, my name is Christy Witt. I live in 10188 Hunters Crossing Drive, Granger. Dr. Thacker, President Riley and board, thank you for letting me speak tonight. For 2 years, I've come to you as part of the triangle. I'm tired. I'm tired of leaders telling us something isn't happening after countless examples have been brought to you. I'm tired of worrying about my child sitting in a classroom and hoping her heart and mind is protected, which is an aspect of safety that has been ignored. I've noticed that the director of SEL's title has changed in the past few months and the SEL has been removed. Does that mean we tried something and it didn't work, or now we're just hiding it? Recently, the Michiana community made national headlines with surrounding school administrators caught on video laughing at us parents about teaching woke agendas and changing what they call it. You probably silently thanked God you weren't dumb enough to be caught on video, because as time has shown us, only when it's caught on camera does anything change. Let's remember a previous board member, while still on the board, pulled all 7 of her kids out of PHM to attend a school with common sense. Why would an astute community and school board member do that when she has the best school district in her backyard? Is it PHM's position to incorporate the tenets of CRT within SEL programs, utilizing SEL in our literacy and science curriculums? If you do not answer, we will assume the answer is yes. We aren't going to go around the hamster wheel on law theory, but from the perspective of culturally responsive teaching, which incorporates circle time, sharing personal stories, and the discussion of social and political issues. This is what students have experienced at PHM. You have people in this room who have done that. The IDOE uses SEL to advance social change through a lens or viewpoint. It's spelled out in SEL. S stands for social. That means they're trying to shift cultural values and norms, thereby creating a massive societal shift. Through E, which is emotional, manipulating children's emotions and mindsets by having teachers practice psychology without a license. And L is for learning, so surveys, lessons, activities, and clubs. This is a cultural revolution so long sought after by Marxists and communists in order to take America down, and you, PHM, have bit hook, line, and sinker. This is why we ask you every month to revisit your stance. It's no longer enough to say we follow IDOE. Last month, I also listened to numerous trips that will be taken to countries far, far away at a cost up to $4,500 for students. While I applaud the learning of different cultures abroad, you don't practice it in your own backyard. Before spring break, Walt Disney students, some of them, received an education on Ramadan, but were they afforded the same opportunity to learn about Passover and the Christian traditions as well? My ask tonight, if none of this is happening and you're staying above the fray, unlike schools who are caught on camera being deceitful, that PHM take a stance and ensure standards that include lessons on patriotism. If the agenda of this board and your administration isn't to divide our community, expose children to topics that aren't age appropriate, and to actually make sure our community is a safe, respectful, and positive environment while working on increasing test scores, you would denounce what's happening at a national level. If you can't revisit what Mr. Garrett asked you to for an entire year, We will continue to assume you condone it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. White. Who's next? Mrs. Leader?
Dr. Thacker, President Riley, members of the board, I wasn't going to speak, but ditto, Christy, ditto. I wrote an email regarding what happened in Nashville, because I actually know some of the parents of those kids. And I sit here and I listen to this safety speech, and don't get me wrong, I do not ever fear for my kids' physical safety, ever. I never fear for my kids' physical safety, but I constantly fear for my child's innocence. And if I didn't, I wouldn't have to look through curriculum, and I wouldn't have to ask for videos and be able to review the videos in her health class. I'm so thankful for Ms. Pollock, because she has been phenomenal in guiding me and providing everything I asked for just to make sure that my kid's innocence is safe. My kid faces enough. All of our kids face enough in our world. So I work very hard and am very diligent in making sure that my kid's is innocent for as long as possible. So, and I say that, which brings us back to what Christy said. Because on July 1st, 2020, you guys made a resolution. Actually, it wasn't all of you, which is an issue, because that resolution was made by a completely different board. So I just think that we need to revisit that resolution, because maybe that isn't the same stance. Maybe this board needs to make that resolution, because you are a new board. If you're going to keep it up there, and if you still stand on that, I think everybody needs to vote. If you're going to have that representing with a new picture of the board that stands beyond that. And so my question is, does this board take the position when it implemented the resolution, which said to eradicate racism, to foster a safe, healthy, and inclusive learning environment, to ensure that all are treated with dignity and respect for all? I'm not going to talk about the email that I sent to the board. And of course, I got no response, because you don't. But do all of you stand on the current resolution that we have that brought in SEL with CRT tenants? We have proof of that just through the quotes. Dr. Thacker, when they made their resolution, said we need to focus on anti-racist themes and anti-racist activities. That is CRT tenants. So it's very important that someone take a stand, either to all vote to keep the resolution as it is, or to revisit the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leader. Who's next? Yes, sorry.
Jackie.
I should have called Jackie Mullen. I'm so sorry. Come on up. You pre-registered and I overlooked your name. I apologize.
My name is Jackie Mullen. I'm resident of 15531 Spring Meadow Lane in Granger. I have a second grader at Prairie Vista. I wanted to share with you a positive impact that the reading interventionists have had on our son. My son struggles with reading, and as a parent, we thought we were doing everything we were supposed to do. We worked with him. We worked closely with his teacher. We got him a tutor he met with once a week, and while he was making improvements, he wasn't getting caught up. Then he started working with the reading interventionist at Prairie Vista 4 times a week, and our lives changed. This child that disliked reading because it was hard started telling me how well he was doing in his reading group, and you could see on his face how proud he was of himself. Sorry, makes me choke up a little bit. I'm proud to say that at mid-year, his DIBEL scores jumped 5 levels. 5 levels from the beginning of the school year to mid-year, and that he is now at the standard reading level for DIBELs. Also, he has improved enough to move to the next level reading group and now only meets 3 times a week. As a parent, I plead with you to keep and hopefully increase the interventionist position in our schools. They are working. Daily intervention is needed for so many of these kids, and financially, I doubt most families would be able to afford a daily tutor. I know that we would not have been able to. Also, most of us parents aren't trained on the techniques to properly help our children. At one point, as this parent, I felt so helpless for my child that he might have to struggle for a while until it finally clicked for him. Now our entire family is less stressed because we aren't having daily fights about homework and reading. And we have a little boy with a newfound confidence in reading and the knowledge that hard work does pay off. So again, I plead to you for the sake of the students that don't fit the mold and timeline applied to them, don't give up on them. Interventionists are a game changer for so many of these students, a wonderful partner for our teachers, and an asset to our school system. Thank you.
Mrs. Mullen, thank you. Is this the first time you've come and addressed the board?
No.
Well, we appreciate you coming on this occasion. It's wonderful to hear about your child's experience with interventionists, and I can assure you that the board and the administration stand behind the program of having interventionists available to our students, and it's wonderful.
It has been a life-changing for our entire family.
Thank you for sharing that
Thank
with
you.
us. We appreciate it.
And Mrs. Mullen, I just wanted to thank you on behalf of all those teachers for spending your time to come up here and thank them publicly. I'm sure if they haven't heard this yet already, they will watch it on video first thing in the morning.
Texts right now.
We are.
We owe them a lot. So
Yeah.
it's really been Michelle, Mrs. Sanchez. It started with Mrs. Kiersey and now he's with Mrs. Sanchez.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll now move on to board reports and requests. Board members, anything to report or request?
Yes, I'd like to request something. Just want to rehash a little bit of information that's been gone over tonight a little bit. Back in August of 2021, the IDOE put out a memo on CRT. I did make that available to the board at that time, and I naively thought that everyone would be excited as I was about it, but wasn't received that way. So the last year and a half, if you recall, I brought this to the board on many occasions. And then finally, recently, I found out that the memo was sent out to all the building principals, and that building principals were supposed to distribute the memo in the form of a guideline concerning CRT or our standards, academic standards, through SMORE newsletters. Okay, so that's been about 3 months ago. So I'm assuming that all the principals in this corporation have done that at this point. And so every parent in our school corporation should know about the IDOE memorandum on CRT in our schools. And if they haven't received a memo, they should have. So I'm hoping that all the principals have done their job that Dr. Thacker instructed them to do. But in light of recent things that have come to light and recent the secret what do you want to call it, interviews that the one communication service was doing with local educators, what I had feared is actually happening. I had a meeting with some teachers at Penn a month or so ago, and we talked about CRT, and a lot of people wondering why I was so adamant about it. And one person actually asked me, do you believe that CRT is taught at PHM? And I told this teacher, not as a class, of course, but do I believe that it is integrated in classroom activities by activist teachers who believe in this stuff? Absolutely, I do. I mean, and look at we have the largest school corporation around, so you can figure that if people in Goshen and people at Elkhart and some of these other schools around are doing that, then there's a high probability that there may be some people in PHM who are too. I hope not. I pray to God that no one would do that at PHM. But in order to make sure that they don't, I think that we should move this a little farther than just making it a guideline, and we should make it a school policy. So I've asked on several occasions to have the resolution provided by our board attorney to be voted on and passed as a resolution, like we did the one anti-racist resolution. I think we should have a resolution dictating that CRT and anything that has to do with CRT is not the way to achieve that goal. So I'm asking that the board put that on the agenda for the next meeting. Hopefully we can go over it, discuss it, and hopefully this won't be ignored this time, especially showing the fact that Dr. Thacker has at least put it out to the principals. And now everyone in the community should know that our guideline on CRT concerning our state standards should show that in no way, shape, or form has anything to do with CRT, no matter how much you try to cover it up, no matter how much you try to hide it, has anything to do with state standards in the state of Indiana. Thank you.
Other board members, reports or requests?
I would just like to echo off Mr. Garrett. I think it's simple. I mean, the saying you stand for something or you fall for nothing. I think in lieu of recent events within the community, echoing off what he said, I think it's important that we communicate our stance as a board. And I would echo that. I would ask the same thing, that we take a look at this, discuss this, and see if there's potential for that to be put on the agenda for the May 22nd meeting. In lieu of that, one other thing that I would like to ask, Mr. Dallas brought something up about what supposedly occurred at the high school. Is that the case? Is there truth to that? That's the first I've personally heard of that. So I would like an update to the board as well as to the community, the truthfulness of that. If it is true, I would like update communicated completely to the community of that. I find that concerning if that is true. If it's not true, I do also think we need to communicate that as well, because
we'll follow up on that.
Okay. And last but not least, one of the last things we had hit on in the March meeting, talking about certain things parents brought up as a concern. And I spoke about that Dr. Thacker's scholarship, which gratitude to him for giving his money. Martin Luther King Jr. had a quote in the resolution, July 1st, 2020, that the board at that time adopted. I do think we potentially need to revisit that as well, because Martin Luther King also said, he's quoted in his I Have a Dream speech, that he said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." As a country, nowadays, it seems like leadership, whether it's schools, whether it's politics, everyone's afraid to take a stand on certain things. Until we get it into a place in our country where we can look at someone and not say, "Hey, I'm white, I'm black, I'm male, I'm female," that shouldn't matter. It should be who you are as an individual, what you stand on, what your achievements are. And I think we need to, as a board, work together for our community here locally, trying to make an impact, at least locally, on that. We don't have say, obviously, on a bigger level. But I think it's important to help bring the community together, all parts of it, regardless of your background. Again, we are one community, and I would like us to work on that, driving that forward to the future. So thank you.
Other board reports and requests.
I have two things that I just wanted to share. First, Mrs. Todd, I have 2 kids who are participating for the first time in the Unified Track program at Penn. And I have been to 2 Unified Track meets in the last 2 weeks, freezing my duty off on one of them this weekend. That is one of the most beautiful programs I have ever been a part of in PHM. I could not be more proud of the talent and the tenacity of every single kid that puts on the black and gold and represents the Kingsmen. And I just encourage the board, if you've never been to a Unified Track meet, put it on your list. It is extraordinary. I hope we win the state championship, and I will be beaten and bedazzled if we do. So just thank you for helping bring programs like that to Penn. And I do want to just nudge us, after having witnessed it, to really think about whether or not we can expand our unified athletic programming in the future. And then the other thing is the board knows, since I ran out of executive session to the Performing Arts Center, that I got to see the orchestra concert on Tuesday night. And it reminded me, and this is going to be your first time through, this is like your first graduation cycle. It gets really, really fun because you get to see the fruition of all the hard work and all the leadership and the planning and the strategy. And then ultimately the investment that the community makes in our children, right? And so I made a mental note. So Mrs. Cheddar, who's also retiring, I wish I could vote against that, brought up all of the seniors in the orchestra program. And there's 5 orchestras at Penn. So this is, you know, kids ranging from learning an instrument for the first time in high school all the way to kids going to major in music. And they all state their name and they say what they're doing next year. And this is just a snippet. And I just, you know, you just beam with pride at like both seeing how these young people have been prepared to thrive, but also to become engaged citizens that make their own communities better. So these are this is a snippet. This is what I can remember. IU, Kelly School of Business, Purdue Engineering, Notre Dame Physics, Computer Science at Carnegie Mellon, Creative Writing at the University of Iowa, which is like as hard to get into as Harvard. Enlisting in the United States Air Force, nursing at IUSB, which is so needed. One of the girls, and I was so proud that this girl got up to say that she's going to become a master welder. And it was just one of those moments where you realize the diversity of what learning means, especially in that high school, and the way these students have taken this enrichment and all their core learning and turned it into pursuit of neuroscience and the like. It was a moment that I felt like was a good metric for the types of things that we do at Penn High School. And that was just one concert with one genre type of music. And I thought it's just going to come again and again and again in the form of sports banquets and honors banquets and building trades banquets and all the like. So that's just a very extended way of saying I'm really proud to be a part of that. And then I'm really grateful for what our children are offered by their community here.
I have to agree. Those unified events, watching the videos of those unified events was just emotionally enthralling. You're just so proud of all the kids who participated and so proud of everybody who helped to make them come together. What a great experience. Any other board reports and requests?
I do have one question for Coach Garrett. So I guess I just want to be clear. What are you asking for as far as you want a policy that the teachers will follow the Indiana Department of Education?
I would like to,
guidelines?
to take a stand on it. We have it out as a guideline right now. It's put out by the IDOE. I think, yeah, here it is. I've given it to you before, but I'll give it to you again. Yeah. And then basically, originally, all I wanted our board to do was to say, hey, we agree with that. You know, that's a great thing. But eventually, I morphed into a resolution regarding critical race theory based off of what the IDOE said. Here's a copy of that. This was written by our board attorney. He put it together for us.
So you want us to create?
I would like for us to go, like I said, instead of having the duck section, send it out to the principals and have principals send it out to the parents and say this is how we're doing it, but then it's under the heading of further instruction in state standards. It should be something we should, call it what it is. We should say that we're doing everything we can to keep CRT out of our classroom.
So you want to specifically say we're not a policy saying our teachers can or will not teach the arts.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what the IDOE says to do, right?
Well, and that's where my confusion is because, I mean, our teachers have enough on their plate, let alone have to, but they're all, they're all hired to follow the guidelines of the Indiana Department of Education. So
So
why-
really, it's a very simple. If they follow the state standards, they will not do they will not do CRT because CRT is not a part of any state standard, period, according to IDOE. So that's a very simple way to put it. Follow the state standards and keep the other crap out.
Okay. I just, that's my confusion, is they're already following the Indiana Department of Education guidelines, which this falls under. But maybe we can talk more. We don't need to waste.
Yeah, like I said before, I thought this had passed myself until I saw these.
Well, you met with teachers. You had an opportunity to sit down across the table from teachers. Did you identify anything in the curriculum maps that they follow that you think is critical race theory?
Absolutely not. It's not in the curriculum. It's not going to be in a
What's the
curriculum.
problem with it?
No one in their right mind would put it in a curriculum. Would you, if you were a teacher, would you want to put that in a curriculum so that parents knew you're teaching critical race theory to their kids?
It's
So if it's not, what's the problem with adopting a resolution that Mr. Garrett brought to, it was before my time on the board. So what's the problem? If that is the case with bringing a resolution, it should be pretty simple. I mean,
And Matt, you're right, but then we're gonna go into a resolution for every topic on the IDOE's curriculum and state testing, and I mean, where does it end? Where do we?
Well, it's already.
Well, how many memos has the IDOE?
No, wait just a, we're not gonna get shouting back and forth at each other. All right, Matt, it's
All
not
right,
that,
I'll lower my voice
it's
and
not
say
that
like
simple.
this,
It's
okay?
not that simple. Because the board has to be very careful about any policy that it adopts. Because when a board adopts a policy, it's the law of the corporation. Policies that are not clear have to be followed even by the teachers who the board technically employs. If a policy is not clear, they're not knowing whether they're violating it or not. And as you just heard, if the expectation is that they are absolutely not going to teach anything that is critical race theory, there are potential disciplinary actions that could occur. We have heard dozens and dozens and dozens of very different, albeit even conflicting definitions of critical race theory over the last year and a half. Some which just defy logic. And for us to put together a policy, impose it on the teachers and say, you have to follow this policy when the policy is not very well thought out, it's not well defined, it puts on them, as Mr. McCullough said, an unnecessary burden and an unnecessary stress on the job. And that when you can't even identify a single element of the curriculum maps that incorporate CRT, it's like, what is the fuss about? We are literally discussing nothing. We're discussing a policy about nothing. It's just a waste of time.
So I guess just one question then. We, July 1st, 2020, I don't have the resolution in front of me that the board adopted at that point in time, but it was talked about how we're going to move forward and eradicate pretty much racism. So long story short is what the board adopted at that time. So Martin Luther King Jr. was quoted in that resolution. Martin Luther King Jr. also said that his he has a dream that his 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, as I've already said, but by the content of their character. My question is, are we moving forward as a district then? Because recently, our superintendent of schools had a scholarship who he's campaigned through PHM, where a criteria is you have to be of color. Is that moving forward? I mean, I don't think so. I'm one individual. Everyone else has their own opinion. So I think it's important that we talk about it. I think it's important that we put it to bed with our community. Mr. Garrett's presented in the past a resolution that was written by one of our board attorneys, sitting down with Mr. Garrett, and I see no issue with bringing that putting that on the agenda for the May 22nd meeting, and knowing, at least as individual board members for our community, which has elected us into these positions, where we stand on that resolution. I think it's incredibly important to do that. I think we're in leadership positions. We chose the positions we're in, and they need to know where we stand on this issue. And nowadays in this country, We have too many leaders in too many positions that are afraid to take a stand. And that's why, in my opinion, we're in some of the positions we are now in this country. And until we get more leaders that are willing to stand for something, you're going to continue to have this divided, divisive country.
Just so we're clear, the resolution committed the district to eradicating racism and racial injustice. Do you want that resolution revisited?
I think the wording and parts of it need to be revisited.
How so?
Because in part of it, we're referencing people that are not involved in the PHM community.
Like what?
I don't have the policy in front of me, but it
Well,
references people.
My suggestion is when you guys come and you ask for policies that have been standing for a year and a half to be reversed or revisited, that you know what you're talking about. I mean, I'm asking you very simple questions.
My simple request is following what Mr. Garrett said. Why don't we?
I'm asking about the resolution where we committed the district to eradicating racism and racial injustice. What about that conclusion would you like to see changed?
I think it's important that we sit down and have a conversation about it and revisit all parts of how it was scripted together. Obviously, racism does not belong anywhere. I'm not saying it does, but I think certain parts of it needs to be revisited from our school board and administration for our community.
Okay.
Here you go. I bet the resolution right here.
Oh, we've seen the resolution. Any other?
You were asking about. Well,
No. Hang on just a second. I was asking him about the resolution that the board adopted committing the district to eliminating racism and racial injustice, and that's what you voted for.
I did vote.
You
for it.
have been proposing a new resolution on CRT,
right?
Which is what you have given to Mr. McCullough. I just want to be very specific as to what we're talking about.
Right, and I want to clear something up that you were confused about earlier when you said it's something about, well, you know, what are we going to do then? Have a resolution about everything that every
IDOE, that was my comment. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So point is, how many, state standards has the IDOE put out a memo about, like they have on CRT? Any others? Exact.
I don't know how many.
IDO is the only one.
I don't know how many.
The only one is the CRT. So since
is put on.
CRT is so important to the IDOE, we should deal with it. Jared Thacker has already put it out to the principals to tell every parent in our corporation that the guideline is based on the IDOE memo from August of 2021. All I'm saying in my resolution is, let's take it a step farther. Not only is it a guideline, but it's something we stand behind as a school.
That leads me to wonder, do we need to adopt a resolution for every guideline that's issued by IDOE?
How many guidelines have been issued by IDOE?
A lot.
A lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other besides the one on critical race theory that can't be defined?
I would just also add that when it comes to the work of this board, it doesn't make sense to me that we focus on what we don't teach. It makes sense to me that the work of this board is focused on what we do teach, which is what's outlined by IDOE's state standards. And then was clearly defined by that guideline. So again, I don't think it's necessary to endorse every guideline. In fact, we sort of did by sending it out to make sure that all of our parents have seen it. But about what we don't teach, there's a lot that we don't teach. And if we start to make lists of what we don't teach, there can be some very real consequences to that. Here are some examples that come to mind. We don't teach like magic and wizardry. That's not in any state standard. But if we make a resolution that outlaws it, then you have teachers that are afraid to teach Harry Potter, right? We don't teach voodoo, I don't think. But if we spend time barring it, then do you have a music teacher that is afraid to show Disney's Princess and the Frog? So to my point, banning things is a very dangerous step to take with lots of consequences. And it gets back to, for me, the real job of this board is to help define vision, to help broaden or refine the way we measure the success of this district. And for me, to begin walking down the road of things, enumerating that which we don't teach, is taking our eye off of.
I'm not
what our
talking
job
about
is.
anything that we don't teach. I'm talking about things that we have been told you cannot teach. And that's what the IDOE says. The IDOE did not say, well, Penn, you're not teaching CRT. They're saying, Penn, you cannot teach CRT. It is banned. That's what they say. Read it.
And that's,
I don't have to ban it. We don't have to ban it. The IDOE has already banned CRT from our schools. All I'm saying is, let's agree with them. Say, okay, I agree. Yeah, let's keep it out.
It's pretty simple.
What's wrong with that?
Here's the simple part. What you just said contradicts your own conclusion. You are talking about something that we don't teach. I've given you opportunities to identify something in the curriculum maps, identify something tangible, this critical race theory, and you can't do it.
Well, I want to keep it out so it doesn't come in.
You're even the one who had the opportunity to sit down and meet with educators who told you, Mr. Garrett, this is what we're doing. And you still can't identify anything that we're doing that is critical race theory. So we literally are, in a very circular way, talking about something that we don't teach.
So let me ask you this, and do you think it should be in the classroom?
I don't think it should be, and I don't think it is. I think this is
Then what's
literally
wrong
a
with saying we're
waste.
never going to let it in?
I think it's literally a waste of time.
A waste of time to vote on one little resolution that will make people, well, I'll tell you what, the only reason we're doing this is because you know and I know that when this all started back in 2020 and when the SEL came in, you know that the LCL or the CRT lessons were being taught in our SEL class. You know that for a fact. And that's why the parents got upset. And that's why we're even dealing with this in the first place.
and we put in some policies since then to help to be very clear on some of the tools being used to get in that, like surveys. That was one of the first policies when I got on the board that I proposed and went through. We got rid of surveys, things like that, that were causing pieces of CRT.
Right.
And I'm with you 100%, Jim, that if you can show me factual evidence that it's existing in our schools, then I stand with you, but it's not. And you haven't been able to bring me anything. And so my point is, why bring a policy that now we're putting more fear into a teacher when we already have a major teacher crisis and more work and more concern for them that they can't even mention the word
Wow.
CRT if they read the policy the wrong way.
Look, Jerry, look, it's already been sent out, hasn't it? Dr. Steck, did you not send out the memo to all the principals?
We sent the information to every family.
Every family. So every family's got it, right?
Families of
So they know
11,000
what our stance is. So if a family reads that, are they going to think it's okay to do CRT?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. So then if someone comes home and child tells their parents that, hey, this happened in class today, and that parent's going to go and say, hey, they're doing CRT. It's already out there. This isn't me. I didn't do it. Dr. Thacker did it. All I'm saying is, hey, it's great. Let's do it. We're for it. Something he already did. Hey, I'm for it, Dr. Thacker. You did a great job. Thank you. Great. All I'm saying is like take it a little bit farther. Say it's not just a guideline. It's what we stand for.
Is calling an African American CRT?
What? No.
I don't think so either. Do you realize that about a year or more ago, an opponent of CRT came up and took that stand and said to us, we should not allow people within PHM to call African Americans because there is no difference between us, and calling somebody an African American is an example of CRT. This is exactly an example that I'm talking about. When policies are unclear, undefined, and left to subjective imagination, we are imposing that on our teachers. And then our teachers have to sit here and try to judge what is CRT based on what's being said here at these school board meetings and not what's on paper.
All right.
It puts them in an extremely difficult position.
All right. What Dr. Thacker did, how is it any different than what I'm asking you to do? He's got it out there in the marketplace.
You know,
every teacher has it, every principal has it, every parent has it. Okay.
You know the difference between a guideline and a policy, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. A policy
so
is
this
the
guideline
official
is
law
any good
of the
then?
corporation. And if you break a policy, you can be disciplined. That is the difference between a policy and a guideline. A guideline is exactly that. It's just a guideline. A policy means when the school board adopts it, it's the law. If you break it, you're in trouble.
So you're telling me anyone who breaks the policy of the resolution we did in 2020, July 1st, on eliminating racism, anyone who isn't working toward that, then they're breaking the policy. Then you could go and you could probably discipline every teacher in PHM, because every teacher at PHM doesn't go against racism every day of the week. You know, you have a very unclear policy there.
No.
Even though I agree with it, it's very hard to.
It was a policy that you voted for.
I did vote for it. I do
After
believe in
looking
it, but
at
I'm just
30
going by.
pages of
I'm going by your standards now. That is a very unclear policy. As far as being able to have teachers do it, and whether or not they get disciplined for it.
You reviewed the same evidence that the other 6 school board members reviewed in voting in favor of the resolution committing the school board and committing the school corporation to eradicating racial injustice and racism.
Exactly. And I believe that we should do it every day. And CRT is not the way to do it.
All right. Any other board reports or requests? Okay, let's move on to announcements. Next regular meeting of the Penn-Harris-Madison School Board will convene on Monday, May 22nd, 2023 at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
I so move. I second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed vote nay. Motion carries unanimously. We're adjourned at 8:53 p.m.